don't know what's so special about that pose. I can do that too. Oh, oops. Oh, come on. You're laughing at me? Try and do this. Miss with every bullet? Motherfucker. Okay, people, here is the Kaiyodo Revoltech Amazing Yamaguchi Spider-Man version 2.0. And I haven't been buying a lot of Amazing Yamaguchi. I got the X-Force Deadpool, I think that was last year. But before that was some My Hero Academia stuff. There's just too much out there. Yeah, ouch. There's just too much out there. Too much to buy. Too many things grabbing my attention. But I am in full-on Spider-Man mode, and I don't know how that happened because for a while I thought, you know, there's enough Spider-Mans, and everybody's doing Spider-Mans. But I got that Marvel Legends 3-pack. Spider-Man! So, when this released, I grabbed it. I didn't have it on pre-order, but it was just calling to me. Robo, buy me. So I did. And I opened up the Ami shipping box, and this was staring back at me. Kaiyodo, what happened to the Amazing Yamaguchi design for the box that you've been using for years and years and years and years? You know, that gaudy, just graphics thrown all over it. I think at first I was like, oh, well, you'd probably find this in a dollar store. But as time went on, it was just your style. And I looked forward to deciphering all the pictures and finding all the little Easter eggs and reading the dialogue on back. Yep. What? Scratch. But no, you had to get all sleek and sexy. What's this? This is downright elegant. But here's your graphic of Spider-Man and some Revoltech and some logos and on the side, pretty promotional shots, some words. On the back, more pretties showing you what it can do, what it comes with. More lovely charcoal gray. Unpiratable hologram sticker. You're winning lottery numbers. On the side, more pictures with more words. On top, same thing. On bottom, legalese. Let's open it. I almost feel bad about taking a blade to this package. Don't worry, it'll only hurt for a second. No graphic. Again, doesn't feel like Amazing Yamaguchi. Instructions, swap the hands, swap the heads, swap the eyes, web wings and webs, putting the stand on, poking the stand on, doing some posing. That tells me nothing. They just stuff the hands in with the stand. That's oddball. Usually they'd be lined up in the tray. I do love that they're on their own little sprue tree. You can keep them all together. Psh, doctor. Will he survive? Oh no, there's a bunch of those. The best way to get rid of those is to pop things apart. They're less plasticky this time. They're almost papery. Stretch it out just a little bit and then bring it down and around and yes, perfect. Or just tear them off, whatever. I make fun of these, but these are there to protect the finish. And with him being this metallic, this shiny, I can see why they did it. Can we do this? Yes, we can. This is Revoltech, of course. Yes. And I'm sure this, yep, same thing. And oh wee, look at this thing. It seems Kaiyodo continues to improve, to tweak, to try new things out, and most of the time it works. Don't get me wrong, there's still some stumbles, but I can't believe how much I like Spidey 2.0 over 1.0. And it really comes down to this. Most of the time, Amazing Yamaguchi is awkward as hell in neutral position. They're made for crazy poses, not just standing around on the shelf, but once I got this out and got it into this stance, it's like, whoa! It's still stylized because it's based off an artist rendition for the toy line. It's got some curves to it that aren't quite realistic, and the size of the hands and the feet, the bulky thighs compared to the lower leg, the thinness at the torso, the musculature, the size of the head up on top, and there is slight tweaks to the all-new, all-different costume design. But for the most part, it's accurate to the covers. It's got that green glow behind the spider on the chest. The angles to the glove tops and the boot tops has a spider on the back that moves with the articulation, just like cloth would over muscles. Unfortunately, that doesn't do that on the front. Whenever you bring the butterflies all the way forward, it does cover the logo, but extreme pose. And with that is the other awkwardness of shoving Revoltech joints in. I think that more than anything is the biggest factor when it comes to loving or hating this toy line. Some of the joints are just super exposed in order to get the full range that Kaiyodo wants. Bam! Right there at the elbow. Again, talking about the butterflies, they're just laying right on top of the body. Any other company would integrate it inside, but it's limited to where the plastic allows plastic to go. Plastic on plastic violence. But you get more range, and that is what Revoltech goes for. A lot of companies give you swivels at the boot tops where you can turn it side to side. Kaiyodo, they're going to give you full-on hinge forward and back for some extra articulation below the knee. The hips are always confusing. In fact, a couple of times, like on Carnage, they tripped me up. I had to come back later after people commented, no, you have to do it like this. Because out of the package, if you try to swing this up like any other figure in your collection, it goes burp, burp, and you think, this is Spider-Man, he needs more than that. But what you got to do is rotate the leg up and then rotate out, and that'll give you more. And then, see that cutout? You keep going with that, and you can even bring it up some. Another thing I always say about these, there's a learning curve. And with Kaiyodo constantly tweaking things, you constantly have to be learning things. Like again, the shoulders, they used to do double hinge and swivels, where it would swing all around out here and up here, and there'd be all kinds of crazy up and down. Now they do a ball joint into the shoulder, and it's less movement, but it's nicer looking. You could still pop it up and out and all the way up without even turning anything, or you can turn it and go all the way up, because there's also a bicep swivel. If you try to straighten the bicep forward though, the muscles back here run into the torso. You try to bring the arm down, it gets in the way, so you do have to kind of turn that. It's the same at the knee. They're going to be on the outside a little bit in neutral position. You can turn this to the inside. Oh, well, that actually straightens it out a bit. See what I mean about constantly learning? I thought that was the position, but I guess you can turn it even more. That gets him standing even more straight up and down. But back to the costume, you got your metallic blues with this slight texture to it. Makes it very, very interesting looking at it. One of those everywhere you look, you see something situations. And then the web lines are also sculpted in with a raised logo on front. And then at the head, dang near iconic. I don't know if it's the design of the all new different suit where this circle goes up and around. It kind of like frames in the face, but I don't mind too much. It's still a beautiful looking Spider-Man head with just a slight green tint to it to match the logo. And now that I'm moving into articulation, I realize that the review so far has been disjointed as hell, jumping from joints to design to paint to everything, but it's a Revoltech. Disjointed is the name of the game. Because going through articulation, when you move things, you may open stuff up. You have to balance bending things and moving things in order to hide things. You know what I mean? There's a dumbbell joint at the top of the neck with a ball joint at the bottom, so you can look all the way up, most of the way down. There's the butterfly joints on the outside of the torso going forward and back. Swivel hinge swivel at the shoulder with a ball joint going down into the arm. That gives you more back and forth along with some up and some down. Rotate all the way around, and if you do get crazy with it, the joint does come out. But there, I'm just looking at it as, hey, get the joint straight back out, push that back in, and back to neutral position. Then the ball joint at the bottom gives you some swing and some rotation and more up and down. The arm does anything you want it to do. Bicep swivel. Swivel hinge ball joint at the elbow. Again, that's confusing. It's kind of the same setup as this, just in elbow form. Bends up to there, but then the ball joint takes over and you can go the rest of the way because it kind of juts out while giving you some in and out. So again, all over the place. Little itty bitty swivel hinge swivel at the wrist, so you can go in and out, or you can down, rotate, up and down, any direction. We took this apart a minute ago. There is a ball joint at the upper torso, and then a ball joint at the waist. And the belt is a separate piece in order to get out of the way. With all that, all the way. Not as much arc back, but that's okay. A lot of figures we see more arc back, less forward to maintain the look of the front. But here, no, they said to hell with it. Bam. So much tilt side to side and then rotation. Again, ball at the hip allows for rotation up to there. Back, out. Oh, well, it does turn. What is going on? I was wrong earlier. It does swing up to about right there, but if you want to go further, swing up and out. And then you got this. Hell, you got this. There's also a swivel at the thigh. Hinge at the knee comes to here, but the back is kind of scooped out in order for the calf muscle to go in there. And then at the boot, there's rotation and hinge back and forward. When you go back with the knee, you can go back even further because of that joint. All the way up. A little swivel hinge swivel at the ankle. That hinges back and forward, front-facing pin for rocker, and then a toe joint that does that. And even after going through articulation, right back to neutral stance. I feel that is a huge improvement when it comes to Amazing Yamaguchi. And then, of course, Revoltech has one of the best 4-point stances in the game. God dang, look at that. Still does have those spikes at the knee. It doesn't have the articulated kneecap, but it's not as bad as other Amazing Yamaguchi figures. For accessories, there are 2 fists, then there's 2 tensed up splayed out hands, 2 wall crawling hands, 2 relaxed hands, 2 thwip hands, and 2 really splayed out hands. These are easy enough to just pull off. It's more of a tension than a mushroom. And then because those were on a sprue already, that should just go right on. Not a problem at all. Very McFarlane-y. Oh, it's flat palmed, so he can be crouched down completely on the ground, or it's just a big old gesture hand. Whatever you want to use it for. And then for the swappable eyes, out of the package, it's this mostly iconic look. It's classic-y looking. But then there's also more closed, and I'm guessing smiling, and what's that? The whites are smaller, but the black is still pointy. Pop the head off, and that is what this tool is for. There's little holes in the back where you can reach in there and just press and push them out. And I love that these are in a little carry case. Again, like the hands, you can just toss this in a bag and it'll keep it all together. You just press other eyes in and get a completely different look, a different feel for your Spider-Man. Or you can mix and match. The world is your oyster, baby. Oh, that's wide-eyed, surprised looking. Then there are 2 shooting webs, translucent material, green tint to them. Usually that means glow in the dark, but these do not glow. I do think they're blacklight reactive, but I don't have a black light. And there are holes in the thwip hands in order to plug that in. Then there's 2 web effect pieces. They plug into the thwip hands too. Again, translucent material, little hint of green. Harder plastic this time around. They're not as... Wait a second. These aren't flexy. I guess I just assumed it was, but you don't want to bend these very far. Oh yeah, that's kind of neat. Kind of electric company looking. And then there are 2 web wings. Very similar to the web effects, but they're flat. And they have pegs in different positions. For those, there's little holes right here, and it takes a minute. You want the curve to go to the front and the longer edge on top. And it definitely goes there because it follows the muscles. Oh, there we go. You kind of rotate them back like this. Kind of blended to my background. They're translucent, but I can see possibilities there. Size-wise, Spider-Man 2.0 stands at about 6 1/4 inches tall, which is in line with other Amazing Yamaguchi Marvel characters. Ooh, here's the perfect example of Kaiyodo working on their proportions and their neutral stances. That first Spider-Man from years and years ago, it is an absolute pain in the ass to try to get standing in a normal position. And don't get me wrong, this is still a bit awkward, but not as jigsaw puzzly as this one. Oh, it is like night and day. Here it is with the Medicom Mafex original release comic book Spider-Man and Medicom's more recent Mafex Symbiote Spider-Man. And then of course there's Marvel Legends Spider-Mans. I think this is Renew Your Vows and Amazing Fantasy 15. Hasbro did do their own Marvel Legends all new, all different Spider-Man, but I can't seem to find that. It's not in my tubs or on my shelf. I don't know where it got off to. But this gives you a general idea with Marvel Legends. So at the end of the day, it's exactly what I expected, but more. It definitely has a presence. It has that old school Spider-Man feel with modern tweaks. Yeah, there's some angles to the glove tops, the boot tops, but as you're posing it around, it kind of hides itself from you. Don't get me wrong, if you are a classic Spider-Man purist, you're gonna go, what is that doing there? And everything slopes to the side, but overall, it's still Spider-Man. I thought the biggest thing that would stand out at me is the glowy spider logo on the chest, but even that, after a few passes of articulating and posing, it doesn't even bug me. Bug me? Get it? Bug. And I know everybody gets sick of hearing this from me, but you either love Amazing Yamaguchi or you hate it. The posing is the main draw, and in order to get the poses that you can get with this figure, you have to have some open articulation. You have to have some wonkiness in the joints. We don't have the technology to have 2 objects exist in the same space at the same time yet. Hard plastic runs into hard plastic. They have to make concessions. But I will say they have found, at least for Kaiyodo, for Revoltech, for Amazing Yamaguchi, a nice balance between posability and just standing in a neutral stance. I keep saying it, but that's one of the things that jumped out at me here. If there's anything that stood out at me was when I was taking all these pictures, the shine from the metallic, well, I can't even call it metallic. It's like super glossy. The light reflecting off that made it look armory. I don't know all new to all different Spider-Man, but at the same time, you look at some covers and it's supposed to be shiny. What I'm trying to say is, if you do like Amazing Yamaguchi, Spider-Man was made for this line. Or this line was made specifically for Spider-Man, and then everybody else can just be thrown into it. Even though Deadpool started the series, Spider-Man benefits the most from the design overall, the engineering. I'd really like to see this exact everything with a more classic design. Dull down all the reds and blues, leave the textures, take the angles out, more traditional Spider logo. Man, hotcakes. Kaiyodo. That would be hot cakes. Or wheat cakes, I guess I should say. They'd sell like wheat cakes.